Hi, I'm Anastasia Boxell, and my book talk today is on Otherworld by Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller. Now, Jason Segel is also an actor, which made it totally awesome because I listened to the audiobook and he read the audiobook himself, and he did a fantastic job giving voice to each of the characters. They each have definitely their own unique sound and flavor to them if you listen to the audiobook. And this book was so funny. I was literally laughing out loud as I was walking around the neighborhood, walking my dog. I'm sure anyone who saw me thought I had totally lost my mind. But I think this book would be great for high schoolers. And it's called Otherworld because part of the book is set in the real world and part of the book is set in a virtual reality video game. So our main character is Simon. And Simon is just home from boarding school, which he got kicked out of to finish his senior year back at home. And I think this book would be good for high schoolers because they might relate to some of the things that Simon is dealing with or has dealt with. And to let you get to know Simon a little bit, I'm going to read you a page from near the beginning of the book that I think really shows his personality. It's still a bit nippy when I step outside, but spring has sprung. Across the street, the neighbors' newly planted rose bushes are blooming. The buds started opening last week, which is why I'm here now, nearly naked on a chilly afternoon. The flowers are fuchsia, a color my mother calls vulgar. As soon as they began to reveal themselves, my mother petitioned the Homeowners Association to have them uprooted. Since she's the president of the Homeowners Association and a ruthless attorney, her petitions always pass. How about that? It's the American dream in action. Irene Diamond started life as the daughter of a small-time crook, and now she's in charge of nature. The people across the street are new to our neighborhood. Last fall, they moved here from Singapore to work for one of our local tech conglomerates. Unlike my mother, they haven't spent years forming alliances over hors d'oeuvres, which means they lack what my parents call leverage. But they're friendly to me, so I'm going to give them something to complain about. Something that will embarrass Mommy Dearest enough to keep her lips sealed at the next meeting of the Homeowners Association. I drag a chaise from the side of the pool behind our house. Its legs gouge muddy tracks in the pristine grass all the way to the front yard, where I position it perfectly, not far from the street and just across from the neighbor's living room windows. I've worked up a sweat and my pasty skin glistens as I lie down on my stomach. I wedge the back of the Speedo between my butt cheeks and try to assume an artistic pose. No sense in being vulgar. So that's Simon for you. Now, the reason he got himself kicked out of boarding school back home is because his best and only friend, Kat, whom he totally adores, has stopped communicating with him while he was at boarding school. And not only that, she's not paying him any attention, practically ignoring him since he got back. She's fallen in with the wrong crowd of druggy friends, and when they are targeted and some of them die and the rest are seriously injured, Simon is left to figure out what is going on. Because when Kat is in the hospital and he visits, people from the company show up. Now, the company are the people who created Otherworld. And come to find out, the virtual reality gear that he uses is not the only way to access Otherworld. They have another thing called the disc that they can attach directly to someone's head that communicates with their brain. And when you're in the video game wearing a disc, you could actually die for real in the real world. So they hook Kat up to this because she's in a comatose state in the hospital, and Simon realizes that something is wrong and creates such a fuss that someone gets him a disc and he goes into the game to save Kat. So ultimately, from the video game, they discover that they are not just saving each other in the video game, but they are actually trying to save the world. So if you go into Otherworld, you might not necessarily come out. Will they make it out? Will they save the world? Will they even save each other or the other friends that they make in the game? You'll just have to read Otherworld to find out. Now, one other thing that I liked about this book, it wasn't just funny. There were a lot of profound statements in the book too. You get a lot of really deep thoughts and lessons about the meaning of life and the meaning of friendship and what it's like to really play in a virtual world and how that affects you in the real world. So there were a lot of gems in there that I really loved, and it was a good balance between action and deep thought and humor. So it was really fantastic, and I cannot say enough good things about it. But if you like Otherworld, then some other novels that you might be interested in would be one called Game Slaves by Gard Skinner, Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, Warcross by Marie Lu, or a newer book called Slay by Brittany Morris. Those are also other games that are set in virtual reality games. If you like gaming or that type of story, then you would enjoy perusing those books as well. So thank you for attending this book talk, and I hope you enjoy reading.